Picture this for a second. You think you know a love story. You think you've seen every chapter play out in public already. And then one quiet moment happens behind the scenes, and suddenly everything you thought was finished cracks wide open. That's exactly what happened the night Bunnie XO realized she was watching Jelly Roll fall in love all over again, and not in the way anyone expected. At first, it didn't look dramatic. No red carpets, no viral fight, no breakup announcement. Just a look, a pause, a shift that only someone who truly knows you could ever notice. And when Bunnie saw it, it stopped her cold. I know what some of you are thinking already. Here we go again, another overhyped celebrity moment. Trust me, I've been reading your comments on the last few videos, and I see the eye rolls. I get it. With reality TV scripts, fake beefs, and stories flooding your feed, it's hard to believe anything is real anymore. I felt the exact same way when this first popped up on my radar. I almost skipped it, but then I watched the raw footage, read the long interviews people ignored, and connected the dots everyone else missed. And honestly, it hit harder than I expected. Before we go any further, if you're here because you want the real stories, not the polished headlines, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That support is how we keep this space honest and human. Now let me take you back, because to understand why this moment shook Bunnie XO so deeply, you have to understand where Jelly Roll came from and what love has always meant to him. Long before arenas, Grammys, and standing ovations, Jelly Roll was a kid from Nashville who felt like life had already written him off. In and out of trouble, locked up before most people even figure out who they are, carrying guilt that never really leaves you. Music wasn't a hobby for him. It was survival. It was the only place he could say the things he was too ashamed to admit out loud. And then came Bunnie. Back when Jelly Roll had nothing but a name nobody recognized and a past that scared people away, Bunnie XO didn't see a lost cause. She saw a man who was hurting, who wanted to change, who needed someone to believe in him before he could believe in himself. Their relationship wasn't pretty or polished. It was messy, loud, chaotic, and real. They fought. They struggled. They nearly broke more than once. But they stayed. Bunnie has always been open about that. She never pretended their love was perfect. She talked about addiction, trust issues, the fear that success could pull them apart. And when Jelly Roll finally broke through, when the world started cheering for the man she had been cheering for in empty rooms, she stood right there beside him, proud and protective. That's why what happened next hit so differently. It started small. Fans noticed Jelly Roll acting lighter. Not happier in a flashy way, but calmer. More present. He spoke differently in interviews. Less anger, less self-punishment. More reflection. More gratitude. At first, people credited therapy, sobriety, growth. And yes, all of that played a role. But then Bunnie said something on a podcast that made people pause. She said she watched her husband fall in love again. Not with another woman, not with fame, not with money, with life. And when she said it, her voice cracked. Here's where things got messy online. TikTok exploded first, as it always does. Clips of that podcast moment were chopped up, slowed down, replayed. One comment with thousands of likes read, "Why does that sound like goodbye energy?" Another said, "If my wife said this about me, I'd be scared." Others pushed back hard. "You'll reach too much. This is growth, not drama." Then Twitter, or X if you want to be technical, caught fire. One viral tweet said, "Bunnie XO watching Jelly Roll fall in love with himself is the most mature flex I've ever seen." Another shot back, "Or it's the calm before the storm." Fame changes people. Reddit threads went even deeper, dissecting body language, old lyrics, tour footage, even Instagram captions from years ago. And in the middle of all that noise, Bunnie stayed quiet. Which, if you know her, is unusual. That silence was the first layer of the reveal. Because Bunnie eventually explained that watching Jelly Roll fall in love again wasn't just beautiful. It was terrifying. She talked about how for years, his identity was built on pain. On being the broken guy who didn't deserve good things. And when someone like that finally heals, it changes the entire balance of a relationship. The roles shift. The dynamic changes. The glue that once held you together doesn't work the same way anymore. Imagine loving someone at their lowest, building a life with them in survival mode, and then suddenly watching them realize they're worthy of peace. Would you feel proud? Of course. But would you also feel afraid of what that means for you? Be honest. That was the second layer. The third layer came when fans started connecting this moment to Jelly Roll's recent performances. People noticed he was tearing up during songs that weren't even about romance. He started changing lyrics live, thanking Bunnie from the stage in a way that felt more reflective than celebratory. Almost like he was looking back on something instead of standing inside it. One fan comment that went viral said, "He's not singing to survive anymore. He's singing to remember." That line alone sparked thousands of replies. But here's the part that truly broke the internet. Bunnie revealed that the moment she realized Jelly Roll had fallen in love again wasn't on a stage or in a studio. It was at home, late at night. No cameras, no audience, just the two of them. She said he was sitting quietly, scrolling through old photos on his phone. Mugshots, old tour vans, friends who didn't make it out. And instead of spiraling like he used to, he smiled. Not because it was funny, but because he finally felt free from it. He told her, "I don't hate that guy anymore." If you've ever loved someone who hated themselves, you know how heavy that sentence is. That was the fourth layer. Because when someone stops hating themselves, they start asking new questions. About purpose, about the future, about who they want to be when the noise dies down. Bunnie admitted that part of her all came from realizing she was meeting a new version of the man she married. A healthier one, a more grounded one, and while she loved him deeply, she also had to learn how to love this version without the chaos they once shared. Fans were split right down the middle after that interview dropped. Some called it the most honest celebrity marriage moment they'd ever heard. Others said it sounded like the beginning of emotional distance. TikTok comments flew back and forth. Growth doesn't mean growing apart. Sometimes healing changes everything. This is real love, not fairy tale nonsense. Why does this feel sad though? And honestly, that's because it was. Not sad in a tragic way. Sad in a human way. The kind of sadness that comes with change, even good change. Now here comes the final layer. The part Bunnie waited the longest to say out loud. She said watching Jelly Roll fall in love again forced her to look at herself. She realized she had spent years being the strong one, the protector, the anchor. And when he didn't need saving anymore, she had to figure out who she was outside of that role. She wasn't losing him, but she was being invited into a new chapter where both of them had to stand on equal ground. That's what made her also emotional. It wasn't fear of losing him to someone else. It was fear of stepping into the unknown with someone she already loved deeply. So let me ask you something. If the person you love most finally healed from everything that broke them, would you feel only joy? Or would part of you be scared of what that healing might change? That's the truth behind the headline. No scandal, no betrayal, just two people growing in real time while millions watch from a distance. And maybe that's why this story hit such a nerve. Because it wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was honest. And honesty can feel uncomfortable when we're used to chaos. So now I want to know what you think. Does watching Jelly Roll fall in love with life again strengthen their bond, or does growth always come with growing pains? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and if you're here for stories that feel real, stay close. The next one might hit even closer to home. Thanks for watching this video and please subscribe Talent Zone Updates YouTube channel for more update news.